Chicago Bears training camp starts next week. So let's talk about it. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports. I'm back at it with another video. And yes, folks, we have finally made it. We are almost at training camp, which starts next week. Like I mentioned, next month, we've got NFL football, people. Yes, I am hyped, excited. It feels like the offseason lasts forever for the NFL, but we are going to have some beautiful NFL football coming up real soon. So I'm going to give you guys a preview for training camp for the Chicago Bears and kind of the things I'm looking at. Now, I gave you guys a couple of storylines last time I mentioned training camp or talked to you guys about it, but now that we are literally almost there, let's dive a little bit deeper into it. So let's get started here, right? I'm going to go through all the position groups, and then I'm going to talk about, hey, is there a storyline here? Is there something to talk about here? If not, let's move on. All right, starting on the offensive side here, obviously the big picture overall is how does Luke Getsy's offense look in year one with this new Chicago Bears offense, and obviously with quarterback Justin Fields. And we'll start right there with Justin, all right? He is obviously the unquestioned QB1 going into year two, and I believe that confidence that Justin Fields gets from being the man and being the guy and not having anyone looking over his shoulder or having to earn the job because Matt Nagy didn't want to give it to him, whatever the case is, Justin Fields is the guy, all right? There's no doubt about it. We've got a backup. I don't even care at this point because the season is all about this man, Justin Fields. I've talked plenty about him, but in terms of just, you know, things to look forward to in training camp, it's just about how he picks up the offense and how comfortable he is in Luke Getsy's system and kind of how he builds off of it. But obviously no controversy here, which is a fresh breath air being a Bears fan, because I've gone through too many of these quarterback training camp battles. I don't want to deal with it again. Remember the Mitch versus Nick Foles thing? Yeah, no thank you. All right, let's move on to running back. Another position, not really too much to talk about here. Monty's a starter, Khalil Herbert's the backup, and then after that, who really cares at that point, right? But in all seriousness, people, we've got a very solid run game. You really just got to hope the offensive line holds up against with the run blocking. But I have full trust in Monty. I think he can run for 1,000 yards, and I think Khalil Herbert's one of the best backups in football. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position. And really the biggest thing here, I've beaten it like a drum. Who's that third guy, right? Behind Mooney and Pringle. Who is going to be the third wide receiver starting come week one? Is it going to be Velus Jones Jr.? Is it going to be the newly acquired Chicago Bear, N'Keal Harry? Hey, he might be a dark horse. Or is it going to be somebody that's been around the league for a while, like a veteran, if you will, like maybe, who knows, a Tajay Sharp, right? So we'll see who the wide receiver threes that emerges. That is one of the biggest things in training camp, that battle for the wide receiver three spot that is going to take place. I hope it's going to be Velus Jones Jr. because I think he's got the most upside, but we'll see. All right, another guy that could, take a look at that spot is Equanimeous St. Brown. Who knows? So we will see, but my money is on Velus Jones Jr. All right, let's talk about the tight end spot, okay? Again, not too much to talk about this one as well. Cole Kmet's the starter. Again, he had a solid year last year, but just didn't get into the red zone at all. I hope that is an emphasis, but there's no battle for the starting job here. Behind him, it's going to be either Ryan Griffin or James O'Shaughnessy. I think Shaughnessy's a little bit better, but I don't mind either. I think it'll be Ryan Griffin as maybe the tight end 3, but there you have it at the tight end spot. All right, now, offensive line. This is the biggest position battle in training camp by far out of any group. The offensive line, it is going to be an absolute competition, because when we take a look at the 5 spots on the line, all right, left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, and right tackle, there's, to me, essentially only 2 guys who are locks at the spot right now. It's Cody Whitehair and it's Lucas Patrick. Lucas Patrick is most likely going to be the starting center, okay? We acquired him from the Packers. Smart, savvy. He's going to be the guy. And then left guard spot, I think that's going to be Cody Whitehair's spot. Okay? So that leaves the other 3 spots up for grabs. Now, in training camp, it has been Braxton Jones, the rookie offensive lineman, at the left tackle spot. It's been Sam Musfer at the right guard spot, and it's been Larry Borum at the right tackle spot. All right? That means that Tevin Jenkins has not been playing with the first team. I believe, though, once training camp ends and the battle that happens at training camp, Tevin Jenkins will be the right tackle for this Bears team. He's just too talented. We've invested, or at least we didn't, this regime didn't, the past one, a lot in Tevin Jenkins. And so I believe Tevin Jenkins, being healthy, coming off a year where he wasn't, he is a mauler. He's a guy who's got all the talent in the world. I think he wins that right tackle job. And I think Borum slides over to the left tackle spot. And I think we've got Braxton Jones going to be the backup. So that's my prediction for the offensive line. All right, so one more time for you guys. Larry Borum at the left tackle spot. Cody Whitehair left guard. Lucas Patrick at the center spot. Sam Usfer at the right guard spot. I know he's played center before, but then right tackle spot, Tevin Jenkins. All right, so that's it for the offense. Let's move on over to the defensive side of the football, and we're switching to the 4-3 defense under new head coach Matt Eberflus. We all know that. We've let go of Khalil Mack, but we still got Robert Quinn. Who knows if he's going to still be on this team, but I'm going to assume for this for training camp he will be. And so if that is the case, during training camp, when we talk about positional battles here, I think we've got a couple locks and a couple of guys maybe up for grabs. I think one of the defensive end spots is going to be Kadeem Muhammad. I think he's going to be a lock coming in from the Colts. A nice veteran for Matt Eberflus to depend on. Robert Quinn, again, talked about him. Is he going to be here come week 1 for the season? If he is, obviously he's a lock, too talented not to start, and he had a monster season last year. And then when we're talking about the defensive line, continuing on, Kyrus Tonga, 7th-round pick from last year, very impressive season last season, and so I think he starts on the line. And then also Justin Jones, right? It was going to be Larry Ogunjobi, but obviously with that failed physical and us not getting him, Justin Jones was the guy we got from the Chargers, and I think he starts. So to me, not too many spots here for grabs, even in training camp. The depth behind will be okay, but this is kind of how I see the starters being played out on the defensive line, all right? When we talk about the linebacker spot, we've got a couple questions here. And no, it's not Roquan. That's our only lock, if you will, okay? The strong side linebacker, the Sam linebacker, that's slated right now to be Matthew Adams. Is somebody else going to emerge? Is he going to be the starter? And then the other side, we've got Nicholas Morrow, right? Is he going to be a starter? I think so. I think Morrow and Roquan are pretty much going to be the starters. Matthew Adams, I've got him as the starter right now. We'll see. Maybe some positional battles there for the linebacker spot, but outside of Roquan, I don't consider anything a lock at this point. And then we take a look at the secondary, if you will, and obviously you've got Jalen Johnson, your stud, a cornerback, and I think Kyler Gordon looks like an immediate starter, so I think he'll start alongside him. And then safety group, you've got Eddie Jackson and then Jaquan Brisker, your other rookie, who looks to be like a stud so far. And I don't think there's going to be much battles there as well. All right. And then we could talk about special teams, but for the most part, it's not going to be that impactful, if you will. Our kicker's still Cairo Santos. And then we did lose, obviously, our punter to the Packers, Pat O'Donnell, I think. But for the most part, I think we are going to be set there because we got a guy. I think we drafted him, if I'm trying to remember here. But for the most part, folks, offense and defense, all right? The biggest battles in training camp that are going to determine it is the number 3 wide receiver spot. So the 3rd wide receiver spot, who's starting there. The offensive line, the right guard, right tackle, and left tackle spots are all up for grabs. The strong side linebacker spot on the defensive side, I think, is up for grabs, and I think that's about it. Rest of the questions here we've got are revolving around depth for the most part. So there you have it. My preview for training camp for the Chicago Bears, what battles to watch for. That is what I'm going to be looking forward to. Everything else, I think, is pretty much set at this point. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below with some of the battles you're looking forward to seeing. Let me know. As always, thanks for watching.